Van Cliburn certainly never intended to be a hero, but this Texas pianist became one just the same. By delivering his historic performance while facing perhaps our country's greatest rival, his name became a symbol for musical excellence and national pride.
You go outside of Texas, even the United States, and Van Cliburn is even better known. I mean, this extraordinary individual who took the world by storm.
The legend of Van Cliburn bubbled up in the oil town of Kilgore, Texas. Van was born in Shreveport, but his family soon moved to Texas. His father worked in the oil business. By age 3, Van's mother was teaching him to play the piano. She'd been formally trained by a pupil of virtuoso pianist Franz Liszt.
His parents, and his mom in particular, was one of the real driving forces behind his success.
After winning a statewide piano competition at age 12, Van debuted with the Houston Symphony Orchestra. At age 17, he enrolled at the Juilliard School to train among the best in the Romantic style of Chopin, Rachmaninoff, and Tchaikovsky. 3 years later, he made his first appearance at Carnegie Hall. But no one, including Van, was prepared for what happened in 1958. At the height of the Cold War, this 23-year-old Texan went to Moscow and propelled himself to international fame at the first ever international Tchaikovsky competition.
It was a time when the Cold War was still really in its depths. Americans and Russians knew very little about each other except hostility. And so for this young, lanky Texan to come out and play in the Tchaikovsky competition was just an extraordinary moment.
Russians under the Soviet Union were brimming with pride over the successfully launched Sputnik satellite. They'd created this event to showcase their cultural superiority, but Van Cliburn stole the show. After an 8-minute standing ovation, judges were forced to consult Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev for permission to grant the Texan first prize. In an instant, Van Cliburn was a worldwide sensation.
And no one ever thought the Russians could possibly give this prize to anyone except to another Russian. And yet he so captivated the judges with his skill and his personality that it became a worldwide phenomenon.
Back in the States, a New York City ticker tape parade awaited Van. It's still the only time that honor's been bestowed on a classical musician.
What was your impression of the main feeling, prevailing feeling in the Russian people?
I couldn't refrain from telling them that they're very much like Texans. If a Texan likes something, he'll tell you, and if he doesn't, he'll certainly let you know.
Later that year, Van recorded the same piece that won the competition, Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto No. 1. It won a Grammy and became the first classical album to go platinum.
He has been successful because he also made piano playing a commercial success.
For 2 decades, Van toured the globe, filling requests to play with the world's best orchestras. Then, in 1978, Van decided to take a break from performing. He lived quietly in Fort Worth with his mother for nearly 10 years, before a fitting return performance in 1987. President Ronald Reagan invited Van to play a recital at the White House for visiting Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev.
I remember when he played for visiting Soviet heads of state here, because he is in many ways the embodiment of the beginnings of better understanding between the American people and the Russian people.
To help nurture young artists, Van has established numerous scholarships around the world, from Fort Worth to Budapest. And the Cliburn Foundation was established in his honor, along with the Van Cliburn International Piano Competition in Fort Worth in 1962.
He's gone on to champion young musicians, and that makes him more than an historical figure. It makes him someone who really cares about the future of the arts.
Van has performed for every U.S. president since Harry Truman. In 2003, President George W. Bush awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor. A year later, he received the Russian Order of Friendship, their highest honor.
He's a musical genius, and he is so far above everyone else that it just could not be denied.
With his continued talent and his continued genuine personality and generosity, he's continuing to make history.
Tonight we honor Van Cliburn with the History-Making Texan Award, a world-class musician who was able to transcend the tension and conflict of the Cold War with his talent and his grace.